Good morning. We're now doing the book of Matthew, chapter 7. Some parts of it we've heard before in the other Gospels, but we'll do it again because they're invaluable. And every time we get to hear them, we're blessed. This time I'm reading again from the New King James because these are all Yeshua's words. And it's gospel truth. So I think the New King James, which is the way it was written when it was converted to English, I think it needs a read. All right. So again he said, "Judge not, that you not be judged. For with what judgment you judge, you will be judged. And with what measure you use, it will be measured back to you. Why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye and don't consider the plank in your own? How can you say to your brother, 'Come, let me remove that speck from your eye'? And look, a plank is in your own eye. Hypocrite. First remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye." And the next part is new. It's not been written before in any other gospel. "Do not give what is holy to the dogs, nor cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them underfoot and turn and tear you into pieces." These are harsh words. Do not give what is holy to the dogs. Do not give what is spiritual to those who are only in their flesh. Do not speak things of heaven to people who are only navigating the earth. Do not cast your pearls before swine. Do not say things that are high level, that are spiritually discerned and understood to people who only know how to mock and ridicule, to people who are fools. Do you know calling someone a fool in the Bible is like a sin? It's such a big sin. It's like murder. But there are some who are foolish. The Bible says the beginning of wisdom is the fear of God. The fear of God is the reverence of God, not fear as we know fear. It's to revere God. What is the opposite of wisdom? Foolishness. Those who do not revere God, in God's eyes, are foolish. So don't speak things of heaven or about God to people who are still foolish. Pray instead that God may have mercy on them and give them wisdom, true wisdom, not intellect only, wisdom. And then he says, they will trample you under feet and tear you to pieces. That is not actually, could even be actually, but they will shred you with their words. Isn't that what people do to people who believe? They unscathingly decimate you. They don't argue and put forth their views in a decent manner. They shred you to pieces. They try to discredit you. They use fallacious ways. And then he says, let's see how Eugene says it in the Message Bible. Oh, this is Mark. Sorry. Matthew 7. Sorry. Yeah. He says, don't pick on people, jump on their failures, criticize their faults. Unless, of course, you want the same treatment. Oh, sorry. How come Matthew 7 is different here? Gosh. Oh yeah, let's look at what he says here. Don't be flip with the sacred. Banter and silliness give no honor to God. Don't reduce holy mysteries into slogans. In trying to be relevant, you are only being cute and inviting sacrilege. Don't bargain with God. Be direct. That's the next thing. Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened. For everyone who receives, and he who seeks. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds. So that's our work. We need to ask. We need to seek. We need to find. We can't just sit and say, no, it will all come to me. The wisdom will all come to me. We need to go looking for it. We need to seek God out. We need to seek His wisdom out. It won't just flash across your screen on Instagram. It might. But seek it out for yourself. God expects us to mine for truths. He expects us to dig for them, to look for them. Because He says, he who seeks will find. He also says, come to me and I will show you great and awesome things that you cannot even imagine. Where's He going to show them to us? He's going to show them to us in His Word. He's going to show them to us in His creation. He's going to show them to us. He's going to show us what's in the deep when we go seeking the deep. When we go to 18,500 feet seeking what hides there, what has God put there, we find the most amazing lessons. Everything is a lesson on this earth for man. For man. Everything has been created for man. And man, with no reverence for the Creator, has abused his creation. If you only knew how God sees everything, you would fear. You would fear to abuse it. You would fear to abuse it. Then he says, he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks, it will be opened. Have you heard that song? Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. He expects us to knock on his door. He expects us to come to him and say, but he wants us to keep knocking. Listen, Papa, open the door. Have you been little children? We've all been little children. Mama, open the door. And he says, if you don't come to me as little children, you will not get the best of me. He wants us to be little children with him. The world wants us to grow up and show up. And he says, come as little children. Look at the dichotomy. Look at how the world has... He also tells us to be mature in the spirit. He tells us not to be as little infants drinking milk, but to grow up and eat meat. That means, how long will you want to be spoon-fed the simple things that he has to show? When are you going to be ready to be able to digest the big things, the deep truths? Unless you've been snorkeling, you could never hope to be the guy who gets into a high-pressured submarine and goes to 18,500 feet, can you? You first got to go snorkeling. But if you snorkel your whole life and never even try to scuba dive, would you ever see the third world? The world under the ocean, the world in the seas. Would you ever see those worlds? You wouldn't. And then he says, or what man is there among you who, if your son asks for bread, will give him stones? Or if he asks for fish, will give him a snake? If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good things to those who ask him? Why did he make parents? Why did he make the relationship, parent-child relationship? Why? He made it because everything he wants us to understand about heaven and about him, he has to replicate it on earth. Children will understand God's love through their parents, through their fathers. If children have hard fathers, they will think of God as a hard one, a hard person. If children have fathers who are pushovers, they will think of God as a pushover, someone who they can manipulate. If children have parents who do not keep to what they say, they will think that God will not keep to what he says. If children have fathers, especially, who have dubious character, shady character, loose morals, unscrupulous ways, they will think there is no God, there is no righteousness, there is no justice, there is no judgment, and anything goes as long as you're getting ahead. Fathers, you have the most important role in the lives of your children. You are the representation of God on this earth. Take your role seriously. Take your role seriously. Do not leave the fathering to the mother. Children need fathers. They need fathers. The father sets the moral compass. And God says, you being evil. What is evil? It is listening to the clamoring of the world, listening to the temptations of Satan and his demons. It is listening to the selfishness of your flesh. That is evil. You want to walk like God? You want to be like God? Silence your soul and listen to your spirit. Your spirit is your God particle. It is the part of you where God will reside. It is the part of you that God has created in you, in me, where he's written his truths. In our hearts, every human being knows what is right and what is wrong. Because God says, I have written upon the tablet of your heart my laws. No more will someone tell another, this is the way, walk in it. For your own heart will testify to the truth. But when we stop listening to our hearts, to our inner voice, to our spirits, we silence it so much that we can only hear our soul and our flesh. And we really go down the wrong path. So then he says, if you, hardwired by me, to love your children, to want to give them the best, how much more will I give you, who love me, who know me, and who ask me? Ask, ask. Your Father is the ruler of the universe. Ask, what can't he do for those he loves? And then he says, therefore, whatever you want men to do to you, do also to them. For this is the law and the prophets. Then Yeshua said, enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and there are many who go by it. But narrow is the gate, and difficult is the way that leads to life, and few find it. You know, when it says following the crowd, whenever there is popular thought about a thing, I always need to examine it. What is the root? Where is it coming from? Is it God endorsed? Most often, the popular way is the way Satan has laid out for us. To plunge, to hurtle over a cliff into destruction. Then he says, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep clothing. Inwardly, they are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruit. Do good men gather grapes from thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? Even so, every good tree will bear good fruit, and bad trees will bear bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Therefore, by their fruits you will know them. Parents, as I said yesterday, don't focus so much on making your children straight. Focus on making yourself straight. Examine your own thought life. Examine your own principles. Examine your own values. Your values are what you care about most. Make sure you value things that are eternal, not temporal. Not temporal. The job that your child gets is not as important as how well he works. It's not as important as how well he knows to honor. It is not as important how collaborative he can be. It is not as important how he knows to pour himself out for the greater good. Then he says, let's see what Eugene says. Here's a simple rule of thumb. Ask yourself what you want people to do for you, then grab the initiative and do it for them. Don't look for shortcuts with God. The market is flooded with surefire, easygoing formulas for success that can be practiced in your spare time. Don't fall for that stuff. Even though crowds of people do, the way to life, to God, is vigorous and requires total attention. Be wary of false preachers who smile a lot, drip with practiced sincerity. Chances are they are going to rip you off some way or the other. Don't be impressed by charisma. Look for character. Who preachers are is the main thing, not what they say. A genuine leader will never exploit your emotions or your pocketbook. These diseased trees with their bad apples are going to be chopped down and burned. Knowing the correct password, saying master, master, is not going to get you anywhere with me. What is required is serious obedience and doing the will of my Father. I can see it now at the final judgment. Thousands strutting up to me saying, Master, we preached the message, we bashed the demons, our God-sponsored projects had everyone talking. But do you know what I'm going to say to them? Sorry, you missed the boat. All you did was use me to make yourself important. You don't impress me one bit. Get out of here. You used me to make yourself important. These words that I speak to you are not incidental additions to your life. They are foundational words. Words to build your life on. If you work these words into your life, then he gives the analogy of building the house on sand or on rock. Ha ha ha. All right, chapter 8. And then he says in the New King James, Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father, does the will of my Father. Many will say to me in that day, did we not prophesy in your name? Did we not cast out demons in your name? Did we not do many wonders in your name? And I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. Don't chase after miracles. Don't chase after power in the name of Yeshua. Chase after doing what Yeshua wants you to do. Whatever is his will for you, do it. Whoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him to the wise man. And he gives the analogy of building the house on rock. And so it was, when Yeshua had ended these sayings, that the people were astonished at his teaching. For he taught them as one having authority and not as a scribe. Thanks be to God. My Father, if these words were from you, let them impact the listeners. If they were not from you, let them affect no one. If the words that I added to your words were not from you, forgive me. But let every word that was from you penetrate the hearts and minds of those who listen. And Lord, let it bless them. In Messiah Yeshua's name I pray. Amen. Have a wonderful day.